Hello, Ashley. Good morning, President Lee and members. Presently, at this time, we do not have quorum, so we're just waiting on a few more members to log on.
Thanks for the update, Ashley.
And presently, I see that we have 2 new board members that just logged in, so we should be ready to go with quorum.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everyone. Erin, if you could, let me do a few housekeeping rules just regarding virtual meetings. Board members, if you could please stay muted, and after each agenda item, we'll allow for an open discussion and dialogue first, and then Ashley may go through roll call to see if any member has an additional comment or question if needed to ensure each board member is heard. And please make sure to state your name before you speak. Any charters on the agenda, please stay muted until the item is considered. We'll ask if the charter is available, and if so, the charter can unmute themselves at the time. And the general public is viewing the meeting via live stream. Erin, if you could please do the roll call.
Absolutely. President Lee?
Here.
Vice President Close?
Here.
Superintendent Hoffman? Mr. Chimone? Ms. Farr? Dr. Crockett?
Present.
Ms. Foster?
Present.
Ms. Montier?
Present.
Mr. Ruiz?
I'm here.
Mr. Stratton?
Present.
Mr. Swanson?
Here.
President Lee, you have a quorum.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin. Okay, that moves us into agenda item D, and I'm going to go ahead and move agenda item D to be discussed with item O. Is there a second?
President Lee, this is Hans. I'll second.
Thank you, Hans. Erin, with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close?
Aye.
Sorry about that. Dr. Crockett?
Aye.
Ms. Foster?
Aye.
Ms. Montier?
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz?
Aye.
Mr. Stratton?
Aye.
Mr. Swanson?
Yes, aye.
President Lee?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Okay, up next is agenda item E, the superintendent's report. Ashley, did we get a superintendent's report to read? I know the superintendent is very busy today and couldn't be here, so I wasn't sure.
No, at this time, we did not receive a superintendent's report.
Okay, so easy enough. Moving right along then, we will move on to agenda item F, the executive director's report. And Ashley, you're up.
Okay. Good morning, President Lee, Vice President Close, and board members. Good to see all of you. And as an update to the board's legal matters, with regard to Pinnacle Education Keno, the board at its August meeting authorized legal counsel to proceed pursuant to instructions, and both parties and their legal counsel are in ongoing discussions at this time. For Parkview School, due to other ongoing legal actions outside of the board's matters, the Office of Administrative Hearings has ordered this matter to be continued and has set a status update that was filed on October 14th. And we'll continue to keep you updated on that charter as well as we know more. As to Arizona Education Solutions, at its August meeting, the board authorized legal counsel to proceed pursuant to instructions, and both parties and their legal counsel are in ongoing discussions. And that is all that I have to report for the legal matters at this time, and we'll continue to update you in the coming months. As my monthly report to you to satisfy that update that I said I would be giving you each month, the board has not approved any surrender agreement since the last board meeting, and I have not approved any AOI amendment requests since the last board meeting. However, I have approved 135 amendments since the board's last August meeting. And so those are typical amendments like charter holder governance requests, a change in governing board members, school civic change in grades, that type of thing. And that has been 135. So staff has been very busy the last couple of weeks. And then I am actually going to hand it over to Rachel Hanna, and she will do a presentation on board staff updates and our responsibilities.
Good morning, President Lee, Vice President Close, and board members. I'm delighted to give you a few updates from board staff this morning. Dan, if you want to move to the next slide. So we've had a lot of growth in the last few months on the academic team, which has included doing a little bit of restructuring. So I just wanted to make everyone aware, both board members and the public, that we have restructured the academic team, which is the team that I currently lead, into kind of two subsections. One, which is academics, compliance, and support, which is comprised of our 5 education program managers and currently our 4 education program specialists. That team is focusing on interval reviews, first-year reviews, pop-in visits, etc. And then we have our accountability side on the academic team, which is our 2 accountability and evaluation managers, Cassie O'Quinn and Rebecca Weinhold, and then an education program liaison. And I'll talk about that position in just a moment. Dan, if you can move to our next slide. So as I mentioned, we have had some growth on our team. Our first new hire that I want to make you aware of is Patty Gale. Unfortunately, Patty was going to be here this morning to introduce herself, but she is out sick today. So we wish her well. But she is our brand new education program manager, and we are trying something very new. She is located in Tucson. So Patty has taken on the bulk of the Tucson schools in our portfolio, with a few exceptions that have some larger networks that are primarily based in Metro Phoenix. She is also taking on the Southern Arizona area. So she will be servicing Douglas, Sierra Vista, Nogales, etc. We're very excited to have her. She has worked in charter schools in Southern Arizona. She has lived in Cochise County, so she knows that area quite well. We are very excited to have her on board and test drive, having someone outside the city serving charters in the community they live in. Next, I would like to introduce Gina Denny. Gina is a new education program specialist, and I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone. I come from the charter school world. I have my kids enrolled in charters. I spent 5 years teaching at a charter in Southwest Phoenix. I also have a background. I came from the banking and finance world originally, so I have a background in compliance checks. I was in charge of making sure that we were within state and federal regulations at the branch level. I also have been a homeschooler in the past. My master's degree is in child development and education. And so I am very invested in making sure that these kids are getting the best possible services and that we are keeping them as safe and on track for success as possible.
Excellent. Thank you, Gina. Our third new hire is Haley Young Miller, and I'm going to let Haley introduce herself as well.
Hello, my name is Haley Young Miller. As Rachel said, I am an education program specialist, newly with the board. I was a high school teacher for 4 years here in Phoenix. I taught biology and Spanish. I left teaching to pursue a master's degree at the University of Texas in Austin, where I studied educational policy and leadership. While I was there, I was working for an educational organization focused on recruiting teachers and providing scholarships for those wanting to be teachers. And I moved back to Phoenix from Texas, and I'm really excited to be here on board staff. So thank you for having me.
We are very excited to have brought on some folks with some different backgrounds than some of the rest of our staff. So we are excited to use their background and experience to enrich our portfolio and help our charters as best we can. I want to also mention that we do currently have 2 open positions. We are hoping to hire an education program specialist, also located in Tucson, to kind of be Patty's counterpart down there to help her on the compliance side. If you're not aware, education program managers primarily focus on academics, amendments, etc. Education program specialists focus on the compliance side of things. And then we are looking to hire an education program liaison to round out that accountability team. That person would be working closely with Cassie and Becca and primarily handling the complaints that do come in. Next slide, Dan. So as I know many of you have heard, we have significantly increased our training opportunities recently. So I just wanted to make you aware of what we've offered. In June and July, we did offer new operator training for those newly approved charters that were opening this year. We also offered charter rep boot camp in July and got some great feedback on that. Mary offered interval review guidance in September for schools that are going through the interval review this year. And that was very successful. We had a lot of participation in that, and we're hoping that it will help set our schools up for success as they head into their interval reviews in the coming year. We will be offering a renewal training. I say we, Mary will be offering a renewal training in late October, and our next charter rep boot camp will be in January. I do want to make you aware, we got some feedback last week from someone who attended charter rep boot camp who said it really needs to be more than twice a year. So we will be increasing that to quarterly starting in January. So we will offer it 4 times next year. We are also looking to put together some meet and greet opportunities both in Metro Phoenix, in Tucson, and in Northern Arizona. So keep an eye on newsletters for those opportunities. And board members, we would love if you'd attend those with us if you're ever available. And finally, on our list of many things to do, we're looking to offer some short videos on our website related to very specific topics to help charters and have them be able to access some training pieces in real time. And I think, Dan, final slide. Just want to make you and the portfolio aware of some updates. We have updated our enrollment guidance site for all charters, minimal updates, but there are some out there. We will be updating and providing an enrollment checklist to help charters in accompaniment with that guidance site. We also made some significant updates to our review process this year. We got some feedback from several charters that resumes and fingerprints were a bit duplicative with the upload virtual review process, as well as with the pop-in visit. And so we will only be reviewing resumes at sites this year, and fingerprints can be uploaded as a Google Doc, and then cards will only be reviewed on site. So we are trying to decrease the number of things that our charters have to upload as part of their review processes. We are also working on an updated process for our networks or associated schools and charters, where they would be able to utilize documents provided in the previous year if they are the same, utilizing an assurances document to indicate that. So if you had multiple charters that were in review years subsequent to each previous year, they would be able to use those documents over again versus having to go through the whole process of uploading everything every year from an academic perspective. We've also, based on feedback, increased our amount of time at the end of a pop-in or a review from 4 hours to provide us the final documents to 48 hours. There's nothing that a school can do or create within that extra window of time that was of concern to us. Safety documentation, frankly, can't be fixed within 48 hours. So anything that would pertain to student safety is still going to be, we can easily determine if they are or are not in compliance with those pieces. But this allows schools to be able to grab a resume from a special education contractor or whatnot, have a little more time to be able to work through that communication, especially since we know our teachers are in classrooms, and that's where we want them to be. We don't want to burden schools by having to pull people out of classrooms to grab that fingerprint card that they forgot to put in the file or that resume that they forgot to collect. And finally, complaints. We do have a quick change to complaints. Complaints are no longer going through the ASBCS online system. All complaints are going through the main website using a form. This will decrease frankly, the burden on those filing complaints, the burden on our schools, and also the burden on staff. The complaint system in ASBCS online is a bit broken, and this will ensure that we get all complaints and are able to process them timely. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Rachel. And I'm going to actually, Dan, if you could go to the next slide, I'm going to provide you another update. We have a lot going on at the board right now, but I want to provide you and in our portfolio an update on ASBCS Online. This is our replacement project. We are and as you all have been aware, we've been working really hard for the last couple of years to begin replacing our ASBCS online system. Dan, if you can go to the next slide. Thank you. So starting back in FY20, we began contracting with MSSBTA. They did a full review of our business requirements and what was needed in a good and working system that could support our board and all the business functions that we have, and supporting our portfolio. And then based on that, we did receive our initial amount of funding, and that was $614,000. We then went out for RFP, began that review process, and really realized that we needed additional money to really do a good job and a thorough job in this implementation and overhaul of the system. And so we went out and asked for additional money from the legislature, and we were successful in that. So based on the most recent FY 2023 appropriations, the board was able to award its contract to Cloud Synapse, and Cloud Synapse will be the vendor that supports our complete overhaul of an ASBCS Online to a new platform. Dan, next slide. Thank you. So in addition to what I had just mentioned, this system is going to be everything that our board needs, everything that the public needs, that the charter portfolio needs, and quite frankly, all the users that need information that is housed by the board. When we did our initial review of ASBCS Online, it only met 16 out of our 128 agency must-have requirements. Now, this isn't even like the nice to haves or what would make it easier for our business work. It is truly must-have. So what do we do? And what that means for all of us now at board staff and for charters is that we have workarounds, right? We have trackers for trackers to support the work, and that's all outside of ASBCS Online right now. So what you can anticipate in this new system, and what we were looking for, is to allow for the board to maintain compliance in one system to all the contractual changes that charters have going on, and also to changes to regulation and education law, or as the State Board of Education changes their policies, practices, we want to make sure that we can quickly update ASBCS Online. And quite frankly, in the past, we weren't able to do that. It all had to be outside the system, and we were supporting it through email channels or Excel documents and that type of thing. But this system will allow for better functionality, improved communication, transparency, accessibility, and usability for board staff, charter holders, and the public. That's really our main mission in this new platform. Dan, go to the next slide, please. Awesome. and Cloud Synapse is going to get us there, right? Cloud Synapse is that platform that is doing all this work to support us and really build that one-stop shop for the agency's processes and needs. In addition to that, it is going to be built on a Salesforce platform, so it will have better support from the state in general as well, so that as we continue to make improvements year over year, that Salesforce platform will be supported by the state and will continue to be improved. Go ahead, next slide. Okay, and I wanted to just briefly explain to each of you all of the partners working on this project in addition to board staff. Now, Dan is really our project lead and on board staff. But in addition to that, Cloud Synapse, like I had mentioned previously, they are our contracted developer. They are the ones that are developing the system and are working with us on a daily basis to put those processes and systems in place. They are going to be in charge of database management and ongoing application support. So we will continue to work with Cloud Synapse after we go live. They will continue to support this platform, and it's already built into the budget, already built into the contract that they will continue to support us and make any improvements necessary. Now, I will say that this platform that we have contracted for is one that board staff will have the ability to make quite a bit of change on there. So if we need to make changes to wording or processes, most of those changes can be done by us. But if we need to do new development or whatnot, it's already built in that they will support us moving forward to develop those. MSSBTA is the contractor that we began working with at the infancy of this project, where they looked at our existing platform and our needed and must-have requirements to develop our budget requests. They have worked with us throughout this entire process within the RFP, and now they are working with us to help with project oversight, technical consulting. They're really the ones that are the experts in new technology, data release, all of that. So they will support us in working with Cloud Synapse through development, but then also they are going to be the ones that are going to help with communication and training development, not only for staff, but also for our entire charter portfolio. So we are already working with MSS to develop that training and communication plan for our charter portfolio, so that there is no surprises here. Everyone should feel very supportive and knowledgeable once this new system goes live, and that's our hope. We're still continuing to work with Synapse Studios, our legacy system provider, and they will be working with Cloud Synapse and MSSBTA to transition all of the data over. And these are just key timeframes as to what we're working under with this project. As of right now, we are in development. We are working through the different amendment requests, different user profiles, and all of that is going to be needed in this system. Again, that's on top of the Salesforce model, our platform. The hope is that we start developing and releasing training starting in January for all of our stakeholders, and then actually go live in March. So we will have more information as we get closer to that March go live deadline or timeframe. But as of right now, we are actually ahead of schedule for development and are really looking forward to going live on time. And I will continue to keep you updated on that. And Dan, the next slide, this is just a visual representation of where we're at and where we're headed for timeframe. Any question on the overhaul of the online system at this time? All right, awesome. I apparently have a lot to inform you on today because I have one other thing to update you on under my executive director's report, and that is the Auditor General's office has officially commenced their audit performance and sunset review of our board. Now, this is a review that they are required to do every 10 years, I believe. And ultimately what they're going to be doing is over the next year or so, we'll be working with them to provide information on what our board does, our portfolio's performance, and ultimately they will provide the board recommendations on improvements that we can make, and also how we can utilize best practices a little bit more. So as executive director, I'm always looking forward to getting more feedback and ways that we can improve. So I'm really looking forward to working with them, and I will make sure to continue to keep you all informed as to the work that they are doing. And they oftentimes may also present to you as well. So just know that we have started that project, and it will be a year-long project most likely with them. And I'll keep you updated on that. Any questions? Okay, and that is the end of my executive director's report.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ashley, for keeping us informed and just for everything you guys are doing. Honestly, it's just been really amazing to see over the last couple of years kind of where we were, where we've come, where we're going to keep going. So that's been really exciting just to see all the infrastructure changing and the trainings that are being offered. I know as well, I've been reached out to of just how amazing those have been and how needed it's been. And so I know it's a lot of extra work for you guys. And so I just really appreciate, you guys always being willing to improve and move and do all those things. So it's been a lengthy report, but a really exciting one to hear of all the amazing work you guys are doing and going to continue to do. So thanks for that. All right, so next up is call to the public. There was no public comment or request to speak forms received. So we will move on to agenda item H, presentation on implementation of NAEA exemplary practices by Wayne Tucker. Wayne Tucker, I see you're here. Feel free to unmute yourself at this time. State your name for the record and go for it.
Okay, good morning, President Lee, Vice President Close, members. I'm Wayne Tucker. I'm the president for a couple more months anyway of the Alternative Education Consortium. We are a group of alternative school leaders who get together we have a primary mission, which is to advocate, educate, and collaborate, sort of in keeping with those two. We are hoping to meet with each of you at some point in the coming months. I know that certainly President Lee is intimately familiar with the work that alternative schools do, but we have a lot of new members, and some of you really might not really understand what contribution alternative schools make to the overall educational picture in Arizona. We essentially exist to provide sort of additional opportunities for students who are presenting as risks to becoming permanent dropouts. So we do a lot of repair work, a lot of intervention, a lot of sort of innovative and highly collaborative work with our students. So we are also closely aligned with the National Alternative Education Association, which has developed a profile of exemplary practices, all of which are on our website. And we'll have Ms. Jacob from Peoria's Flex Academy. She'll be here to talk about two of the exemplary practices that they employ in their school and how those work for them. So let's see, I'll go slide if we can. All right. So I do have a couple of things I wanted to talk about the impact that alternative schools are having sort of right now in this sort of in this very odd educational environment. These are some slides that come to us through from Kelly Powell, the Arizona Charter Schools Association. Kelly is also a member of our consortium. And I am going to oversimplify this. I know that some of you probably know Kelly, and you understand that he's kind of a genius at this stuff, and I do not pretend to be at all. But again, to oversimplify this, let me say that Kelly has identified that we have over in normal years, as if I would put air quotes around normal, we tend to have a year-over-year growth in student enrollment. And as we see here in this transition period of 2011 to 2015, we've seen this sort of a growth in at most grade levels. So slide, okay. The next slide. But the COVID era was different, obviously. During that, on most grade levels, we actually sort of lost ground. Though that trend was either fully reversed or at least erased. The one place at which it's sort of not quite as profound is up in those upper grade levels, which is where most of our alternative schools tend to be concentrated. We tend to be in that sort of that higher range. Most of our alternative schools in the state are high schools, in fact. So you see that there has been a sort of reversal of the trend of continuous growth, but the bleeding is somewhat stopped over at the upper grade level end of the scale. If I go to the next slide. And we can see here that some of the effect is down to actually the alternative education schools, because we can see as the enrollment has decreased in charter schools by grade level in those upper grade levels, the alternative schools have been gaining those schools, with particularly with students in that 12th grade level, as they are, these are the kids who really might have been damaged by the experience of COVID, have really lost their way. And the alternative schools have been there to try to create an environment that they can re-engage with school and come back in. And so as you can see, that those 12th graders are very, very highly represented. And that's really a big part of why our losses have been stemmed at that end of the grade spectrum. So I think it's important to note here that that's a real contribution that alternative schools have made to Arizona schools through this COVID era, that we've really helped to retain a lot of students and keep them from actually dropping entirely out of the system. And that's why we always want to make sure that we come in and we talk with the board, and that we make sure people understand what we do, and that we have a good dynamic relationship with the board to be able to sort of help us to develop the resources and the assessment profiles we need to really do the work we do. So slide to the next one. And this sort of going into the presentation that Ms. Jacob will give you in a moment. These are some of the this is some of the data that comes from the National Dropout Prevention Center, and shows that these are the effects. These are some of the strategies that have an impact on the dropout rate. And dropout rate is one of the ways we really measure success in the alternatives world, because that's what we're here to stop. So you can see that we have sort of things like career development, family engagement, and school and classroom environment. Very important elements of creating a school environment that's going to engage and retain students. And so we go to the next slide, please. And then so the exemplary practice 3.0, which Ms. Jacob will talk about, that is exactly this: creating a climate and culture that is safe and caring and inviting and welcoming for these students to sort of like continue to sort of stay in school, to feel like they want to come to school, to sort of counter some of that excessive absenteeism that many of our students bring with them in their sort of educational pasts. And then developing a curriculum and instruction that is, again, rigorous, yet flexible and engaging. It supports the needs of all these different kids and these very different learning styles, and students who are affected by what I would say often very negative experiences that they've had in the past. So I believe Ms. Jacob is on now, I'm hoping. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to her, if I may.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Wayne. And thank you for allowing us to present some of the exemplary practices that we've been trying to put in place. I've been at Peoria Flex Academy for 9 years and have had just a kind of flying the plane and building it all at the same time, as often we do. The two areas that we wanted to just touch on, and I have Mr. Olabaria and then also Emily Vandian on, and if they can jump on with their video as well. The two pieces are climate and culture and curriculum and instruction, and those really do go hand in hand, as we've seen, especially since 2020, even a more a greater need, if you will, for social emotional learning. And that is something that we put into place. On the next slide, we just have a few pieces and things that we do here specifically that we've been able to share with other schools, either in the consortium or in our West Valley areas. And then also at the national conference in just more organic ways out in the hallways, not as a formal presentation. But one of the greatest pieces that we do with the climate and culture is get our kids involved in different areas. And initially we start out with teaching them mindfulness. So our entire mantra here at the Flex Academy is to be mindful, intentional, and purposeful. We walk through what it looks like to have healthy boundaries, to have ways to self-regulate. A lot of times our kids are coming in with very high ACE scores or adverse behaviors and adverse experiences prior to them coming to us. And so us working through that as a whole staff, and the whole staff from the office and maintenance crews to our teachers and support staff are all trained and walk through and alongside our students. The slide previously, we did get up the first facility dog in our district. We also do a Unity Day, and that bottom left there really just talks about some classes that we do in our mindfulness practices each week. And then we also ask our students to participate in community service 3 hours each semester, and they do that either whole school, individually, or with their classes. So it's something that we've really set in as a priority. And then in that top left corner, there's a little picture that says calm in progress. And I gave up my office to be a mindful room. So when kids are like really just having a meltdown, lots of anxiety in schools these days, they go there first. So before they have to talk to any administrator or counselor or anything, they have an option to just go and chill. And I think at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. O and Emily to sort of just chat about maybe mindfulness and that first exemplar practice, climate and culture. Emily, maybe you can share with the board some of your experiences with mindfulness as you've come to this school.
Right now, I really like how like the teachers are really personal. Like we get to know them way better than any like normal high school, where it's just like there's 40 kids in a classroom. It's like you don't know what is being taught, you don't know like what your homework is or anything. But like the school's a little small and the teachers get to know you on a really good level. And I like how like Ms. Jacob just said, that we have a mindful room that we're actually in right now. And it's like this tiny little room where you can just like walk in whenever you have like a bad day or something. And yeah, you can just calm down and you can go back to class, and it's really nice because teachers care and you can really tell.
Yeah, to kind of speak more on the mindfulness. So since it's a school-wide program that Miss J has, or Miss Civil has started here at PFA, everyone's involved with it, all the teachers, we get some specialized training for it. But like how Emily was saying, having the small class sizes, we really are able to reach each student. And we notice if they come in having a bad day. We greet everyone at the beginning of the school day, so we can kind of see if a student's off a little bit, so we can kind of be more proactive about it and helping the students get back on track if they are having a bad day. The mindful room, we've had students who are on the verge of fighting someone, really bring it down and come back and get back to class and really just bring back their day together. With the mindfulness, also we have weekly lessons that we go through with our students. Each staff member is on the same page, so everyone's on the same page throughout the whole campus, from the security guards to the ladies in the front office to the teachers in the classroom. Everyone's on the same page, so it makes it just really nice that we're in this together.
And I would like to say that every single kid here, like we came from somewhere, we have like something going on, and we have like different learning styles, but the teachers really make it where you're able to learn. Like if I'm struggling in class, if it was like a big high school, I wouldn't really go up to a teacher and be like, hey, like I have a problem with this, because then they'll explain it and it'd be like, oh, you just repeated everything you just said in the lecture. And it would kind of make no sense. But in this school, where I could go to like Mr. O, and I could be like, hey, I don't understand this geometry question. And he will explain it in a different way for like my learning style. And it'll really help. It gets like more personal and deep down.
Yeah, to go on with that, since we do have small class sizes, and part of our other school-wide program is specializing our instruction for the students' needs. So all our curriculum is very rigorous, but since we're small class sizes, we can pull small group within our class and really identify the needs of the students. We have a big push for using data, pre-test assessments, but also our in-between assessments as well, or little formatives, to really make sure our students are getting their educational needs as well as their mindful and mental health needs as well. So I know for me in geometry class, after I'm done with my lesson, I'll pull a small group when I know the students who are might not get it just that first time around, and I can work with them individually to just make sure they get those needs as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for both of that. I think looking at the next slide, just to keep in mindful of our time together as well, and just kind of talking about curriculum and the instruction piece that you talked about, Emily mentioned that everyone coming here to Flex and in our alternative settings are not starting high school there. They're typically not starting as freshmen. It's sort of the place that you don't start at, but a lot of times it's the place that you finish at, because you do need something that's maybe a little bit different. And so that's what's really great for me as a member of the consortium, is to be able to learn from others and get those, ideas and things like that from other educators in the field. The slide that we're on currently there, that little top left, are all the names of the courses that we do. This is an interesting piece of the instruction. And I think this is what, when we're talking about making it engaging and high interest to our students, and an exemplary practice 5.0, this intentional living class is something that is really getting us outside of those core four. And a lot of times in our alternative settings, we're so focused with getting those cores caught up and credits caught up that we're not able to get kids into this space of wanting to be on campus and wanting to be engaged in school. And so this class, and I don't know if you're able to click on it, it is a video loop, but it may not have transferred if it was too large of a file. Those are names of classes, but all of our teachers, just like you have an interest that maybe you're not highly qualified to teach necessarily, but you have a passion in photography, or maybe you hike. And so our teachers come together, and they are not just the teachers. Like I said, the whole staff is involved. Everyone has something they can teach and that they're an expert on. And so they teach these courses, and through that, we're able to get our students, they have a playlist or a menu, and it does allow the kids to really engage with their own curriculum, choose and pick the classes that they want to work on, and gets them to see that they have other adults on campus besides those main teachers. And just seeing their teacher like Mr. O in geometry, they're going to see them in other areas. And so just some really interesting things, and teaches them skills outside of this classroom or outside of the building, where they're learning about just really how to do handy things, changing light bulbs to putting in new sockets, healthy eating, shopping outside the inside aisles, etc. So those are some of those pieces that we embed alongside of the things that we've got to get through, and those high stakes tests and that sort of piece as well. Really, I think that's kind of it, just looking at those two exemplar practices and being able to share with you just how some schools are doing that, and just a gratitude to the Alt Ed Consortium for having these opportunities for us to come together and learn from each other in some of these best practices that are nationwide acknowledged. I don't know if anyone has questions for Emily or Mr. O or myself, but I think we're open if that's something you'd like.
Emily, what do you want to do when you graduate?
Okay, that's a good question. So a little backstory. I was a dropout in like 8th grade, so it was really bad. And then I wanted to do online school, and that was terrible. And then COVID happened, so even if I wanted to get back into school, it couldn't really happen well until finally I was trying to get back into school, and then my counselor said, hey, PFA would be a great like choice for you. So I went to PFA, and now I can go to college like I wanted to, and I want to go to GCC for 2 years, community college. And now after that, I want to go to NAU to become an archaeologist. And it's very nice that the school has given me the opportunity to do like what I wanted to. Because like I thought I was just gonna be a dropout for a long time.
Well, that's amazing to hear, and it's really just amazing to see what you guys are doing. As you may or may not know, just alternative education is a huge passion of mine. I'm like I said, I think they need the best teachers. They have the best students, hands down. I'll always say that. And shout out to Mr. O for being a math teacher. I get that life. So thank you for doing that. That's hard work, but it can be done and it is obtainable. And it sounds like that's what you guys are doing there. And so just appreciate all that hard work. It looks like Member Stratton, I think you have your hand raised. So I think you want to make a comment. Is that okay?
I do. Just to comment, really, thanks for sharing your story with us today. And congratulations. And just really wanted to thank you for the great work that you're doing to address this underserved population. And it's wonderful to hear success stories about folks that, like yourself, that are going from, having been a 8th grade dropout to now having college plans. I mean, that makes it all worthwhile. So congratulations to you, and congratulations to everybody at the program for doing this important work. It's really appreciated.
Thank you.
I have a quick question, if possible.
Yeah.
So, question is the mindful room. How do you, I know that it's used for anybody who needs to come in and take a break or whatever, but specifically, what do you use the mindful room for?
Okay. I have a few experiences where sometimes I'll be driving to school and it's just a bad day already. Like I'm on the highway. I don't want to be here, but I arrive and it's just like, it's a breakdown. So I go into the office and I'm like, hey, can I use mindful? And they open the door and I get to sit in here. And there's like a little couch. It's just a small room.
Sorry. I'm doing my best.
There's a little couch. There's things you can draw. It's just a small room. You can look out the window. And I just use it to go on my phone a little bit, listen to music for like 5 minutes. And then maybe someone will come in and, hey, what's going on? And one time it happened where we have behavioral counselor, Mr. Barrett. He came in here and I had a really bad day. He completely distracted me with stories of his little country childhood. It was fun. It was really fun. And I forgot everything, and the teachers are really nice. So I went back to class. It was fun. I don't know what to say. It's just a little calm down.
That's perfect. I just was wondering, I mean, everybody uses things differently. So I was just wondering what your experience was and, how you felt it's impacting you being able to regulate otherwise, you know what I mean? Because when you go to college, it's going to be stressful. Obviously, this. Driving is stressful. So wondering if some of the tools and how you use the mindful room, if some of those tools help you outside of maybe the school setting.
It's also very nice that even if I do use it, it's just a really bad day. Like nothing's gonna work, and I do have to go home. Like there are days like that. Like the mindful is not gonna fix everything. Mm-hmm. It's just it does feel very nice that we have this choice in the first place, and that is just like even if I'm having a really bad day and I'm gonna go home, just one of the teachers will come in, and it's just nice to know that they care. So it'll fix a little bit at least.
Awesome. Thank you.
And we'll just add real quick to add to that. And us as teachers, if we notice it, we'll suggest it to the students. Like we see them kind of building up and getting frustrated, like, hey, go take 5 minutes in the mindful room. And they'll come back recharged and ready to go. Like that's a strategy I've used with some of my students who are just get frustrated a little more often than others. And it's been very helpful with their success here.
Just 5 minutes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that it is a structured space. So while it's got like diffusers and just lots of just hands-on like squishy balls and things like that, we do set a timer. We do have people monitoring. It's right in our front office, so they are able to check in. They have a little mindful pass that we print for them. So some of our kids that maybe are a little less nonverbal or just they're gonna pop, they just kind of put it on the teacher's desk and they head down. And so you know, it is a space. And then we do have a social worker, a school counselor, and a behavior counselor, as well as myself here to be able to process with them. And then sometimes they just have their trusted adult and it's not any of us. And it is, you know, Mr. Marsden, who's our maintenance security, and he plays basketball with them. And so sometimes they just go out and shoot hoops or whatever. So I think it's really about, you know, for all of us in education, finding that trusted adult and being able to let our kids find that person.
Well, thank you guys so much. I think it's incredible. I know at our schools, we implement the same thing, the Take 5 pass. And it was actually because of my experience at an alternative school that we did that. And it makes all the difference. I think us as adults need Take 5 passes ourselves. So even more so to students. And so, yeah, again, what you guys are doing is right on track. And thank you so much for being here and so much for sharing with us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. All right, so moving on to the consent agenda. Board members, are there anybody that needs to recuse themselves, remove anything from the consent agenda? And if not, then is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Perfect. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Hans.
Thanks, Hans. And Aaron.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Montier,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Stratton,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great. Okay, moving on. Agenda item J, and I believe we are going to have Sandy. Sandy, if you're here, if you'd like to unmute yourself and introduce the charter replication application for Heritage Academy. After Sandy presents, we'll go ahead and have the charter unmute themselves and introduce themselves at that time.
Good morning, President Lee, Vice President Close, and board members. Heritage Academy, Inc. submitted an application to replicate its charter, which has been in operation since 1995. If approved, the new charter will be held by a new entity, Paul Revere Academy, Inc. The proposed school will be called Paul Revere Academy and will serve grades 9 through 12 in Mesa with a target start date of July 31st, 2023. If approved, the charter will have an enrollment cap of 250. I am available for questions should you have any.
Board members, are there any questions? Okay. Then if not, is there a representative from Heritage Academy? If so, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself, state your name for the record at this time and give us any statement you'd like to make.
Hi, President Lee. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. My name is Jared Taylor. I'm the CEO and chairman of the Heritage Academy family of schools. And appreciate you hearing our agenda item this morning. A couple of years ago, I was approached by some board members and Dr. Chad Wilson over at the EVIT campus. For those of you that don't know who EVIT is, the East Valley Institute of Technology. Their flagship school is in West Mesa on Main Street, probably the granddaddy of the CTED world here in Arizona. There's 14 career technical education districts that Arizona has, and this is the largest one, the original. They were really concerned about the service for the youth in the foster system, and they'd like to do a little bit more. There's great schools that are doing much good in that space, and they just kind of wanted to add to that really great repertoire in Arizona. As you know, the CTEDs are not authorized to issue high school diplomas, so they were looking for a charter partner to co-locate on their site to offer the academic side and ultimately issue high school diplomas. But of course, they would do what they're good at, which is the industry certificates and the technical vocational training. And so that partnership is what came together in this charter application. They wanted to expand the partnerships here to not just include a heritage or a Paul Revere school, as we're calling it, and EVIT, but they also wanted to bring in other partners such as our Maricopa County Community College districts to enhance their ability to offer college credits, but also on-site services for some of the youth and in the foster care system. So DCS, Access, some other state agencies are also part of the consortium here. This is part of a larger strategy that EVIT has to support this group. Those of you that follow the state legislature, you probably know they got a $10 million appropriation for a group home for those that those in the foster system that need some place to live after they sort of age out of the traditional system. So that's a little bit part of the program here, although that's not part of the school that we're proposing here. The goals really are to just help to add to the schools. And presently, as you know very well, there's lots that we can do for this population. And we'd just like to do a little bit more and just throw our hat in to help this group. Really, the goals is to move the dial on school stability is probably the basis of it, but ultimately increasing graduation rates, increasing what they can do when they leave with better planning. And we'll do a lot of that on site. You probably saw that in the applications. So I just want to thank Sandy, Rachel, Ashley, staff. I've worked with you on and off throughout this application process. I really appreciate the opportunity and time that you spent to give me some information as we develop this. So I won't repeat the rest of the application. I think I'll just stop there and see if there's any questions.
Well, I just have to say, I was looking at the school's profile. Obviously, you have A, B rated schools above the state average, test grades, something to be really proud of, kind of maintaining that through the last few years. And also, I'm just really excited about the target population that you guys are looking to service. I think this is going to be a really interesting partnership. And I just want to say thank you for doing it slowly and with a lot of intention. I'll say this a million times more, that charters who do things slowly with a great plan with lots of lead time end up being the ones that truly are successful in the years to come. And so I just really appreciate you being really thoughtful about that, and appreciating your comments about school stability. I think that that's huge for the population that you're going to be targeting. And I think, as we saw in the presentation with the alternative school, that job, that focus on job outcome, right, outside of high school truly increases student engagement. And I think it's the same thing for the population that you're looking to target as well. So I'm really excited about it. Not really a question, more of just some comments that got me really excited about this application. So sorry, I usually try to let board members speak first. I just was super excited. So board members, I didn't mean to go in front of you guys, but are there any other questions or comments for the charter holder?
President Lee, Jim Swanson. Just really not even a question. Also, I want to echo, I love the partnership with EVIT. I think it's really cool. They do such a nice job and have charters associated with that, and working to help out our kids is awesome. So thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, that might be the easiest one. All right. So with that, is there a motion?
Yeah, President Lee, this is Hans. I want to second you. I think this is an encouraging effort. So I'm happy to make the motion to, I move based on the information contained in the board materials and presented today to approve the request to grant the replication charter requested by Heritage Academy, Inc. in the name of Paul Revere Academy, Inc. to establish the school, Paul Revere Academy, serving grades 9 through 12 with an enrollment cap of 135.
Awesome. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And Aaron, with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Monteith,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Stratton,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, up next we have agenda item K, Legacy Traditional School East Mesa, and I believe we're going to have Andrea present first, and then we will give an opportunity for the charter holder to speak.
Good morning, President Lee, Vice President Close, and members of the board. Under the board's financial framework, staff annually assigns each charter holder a summative financial performance rating of either good standing, adequate standing, or intervention. A charter holder that receives an intervention rating for 2 or more consecutive years is placed on probation and does not meet the board's financial performance expectations. Staff assigns each on probation charter holder a probation risk level using the 2 most recent audits and the criteria set forth in the board's rules. The board has established 3 probation risk levels: probation risk level 1, which represents the highest risk, probation risk level 2, and probation risk level 3. Under the board's rules, a charter holder assigned to probation risk level 1 is subject to a consent agreement with the board, charter revocation proceedings, or if applicable, denial of renewal. Legacy Traditional School East Mesa operates 1 school in Mesa, which serves grades kindergarten through 8. The charter holder receives an intervention rating for fiscal year 2020 and for fiscal year 2021. Using the criteria identified in the board's rules, staff assigned the charter holder to probation risk level 1 because the charter holder received a below standard rating on the going concern measure for 2 consecutive fiscal years. The charter holder was determined to fall within the low risk ADM category, and the charter holder's numeric performance positively increased on less than 3 calculated measures. Specifically, for the unrestricted days liquidity measure, the charter holder's performance declined from a meet standard for fiscal year 2020 to an approaches standard for fiscal year 2021. I am available for questions, and charter officials are also available.
Okay, board members, any questions? Okay. And Andrea, you said this, but just to be clear for me, FY22, they're all green, right? So
That is correct. And this is the slide that you're seeing now is a slide that was put together by the charter holder, but board staff concurs with the information that the charter holder has placed in the 22 dashboard column.
Perfect. Well, that's a great slide. So thank you, Legacy, for doing that. All right, I see the rep is on the line. So if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself at this time, state your name for the record and any statement you'd like to make.
Yes, thank you so much, President Lee and members of the board. Corey Kennedy, Vertex Education Chief of Staff for the record. I'm here alongside Vertex CFO Ingmar Berg on behalf of Legacy Traditional School East Mesa. We're grateful for the opportunity to share some information about LTS East Mesa, including its current financial condition based on the already complete 6/30/22 audit, as well as our expectations going forward. We think there's a good story here and we're happy to tell it. So LTS East Mesa opened in the 18-19 school year with 637 students, relatively low compared to a more typical legacy opening perhaps. Enrollment happily has steadily increased each year since then, rising to about 1,070 students for the 21-22 school year. As we all know, strong enrollment is the key to financial stability for any school, and we're very pleased with how LTS East Mesa's enrollment has grown. I'd like to pass the mic now to Ingmar Berg to describe the financial stability the school has achieved, after which I'll conclude our comments.
Thank you, Corey. President Lee, Vice President Close, and members of the board. I'm Ingmar Berg, Vertex Chief Financial Officer for the record. Since our submitted action plan back in April of this year, I'm pleased to report that East Mesa has significantly improved its financial performance compared to fiscal year 2021. As per reported in the fiscal year 22 audit financial statements, East Mesa met all the financial framework targets with a healthy margin, as you saw on the slide. I'd like to quickly provide a status update on the action plans we presented back in April. First and most important important, we reached the forecasted enrollment, which we all know is critical for any school. Secondly, the operating as well as financial metric supports our efforts to balance fiscal responsibility with academic outcomes. And third, we're now providing financial statements to the superintendents and principals through monthly meetings between our finance team and school leadership. Every board meeting, we update the board on the financial status of the schools. And finally, fundraising is an ongoing effort across the legacy schools. In addition to all that, we have strengthened our month and year-end close processes, resulting in that we're now producing financial statements 5 to 6 business days after month end, and we completed the audit within 90 days of year end on September 30th. Excuse me. As a comparison, our fiscal year 2021 audit were completed on March 30 of this year, an improvement of 6 months. This will not only give us better and more timely financial information throughout the year, enabling Legacy to take corrective action sooner if needed, it will also free up time for the financial team to provide more support to the schools. And then just a few comments on the financials for the fiscal year 2022. We closed the year with a healthy cash position, which more than doubled our days cash on hand. East Mesa's net income improved from a loss of $600,000 in fiscal year 21 to a positive net income of almost $700,000 for fiscal year 2022. In closing, it's my strong belief that East Mesa has reached an enrollment level, which in combination with a healthy fiscal responsibility provides a strong platform for the school's financial as well as academic future success. Thank you, and I'm going to turn it back over to Corey.
Thanks so much, Ingmar. Just briefly, before we conclude, I'd also like to acknowledge and thank Ashley Berg and Andrea Leader for their efforts throughout this process. They've been thorough, clear, and professional from the beginning. In summary, despite financial challenges in its first few years that resulted in the financial intervention process that brings us here today, LTS East Mesa currently meets every measure on the financial performance framework. And because full compliance was achieved for 2022 and is expected looking ahead to 2023 and beyond, LTS East Mesa will be pleased to enter into a consent agreement committing to meet the board's financial framework expectations. That does conclude our comments, and we thank you for the opportunity to share them.
Awesome, thank you. Board members, are there any questions or comments for the charter holder? Yeah, I don't have any either. I think that you guys, had a thorough explanation. And again, I appreciate what you guys provided for us visually. It's a lot easier for us to digest that way. So with that, is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans. I'll go ahead and make the motion. I move to find that Legacy Traditional School East Mesa, hereinafter referred to in this motion as the charter holder, has failed to meet the financial performance expectations set forth in the board's financial performance framework and has violated its charter contract and state law. These failures and violations provide a sufficient basis to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's contract. However, the board is authorized to exercise its legal discretion with regard to actions taken against a charter holder that is not in compliance with its charter and state law. In an effort to bring the charter holder into compliance, the board moves to enter into a consent agreement that includes the same terms and provisions as the financial performance consent agreement previously adopted by the board. If the charter holder chooses not to accept the terms of the financial performance consent agreement or an executed copy of the consent agreement along, along with governing board minutes approving the consent agreement are not received by board staff, then it is the board's decision that the charter holder be placed on a future agenda for a motion to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's charter contract.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Aaron, with the roll call, please.
Absolutely. President Close.
Aye.
Dr. Crockett.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Montier.
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz.
Aye.
Mr. Stratton.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
I'm an aye, but I just want to make a very quick comment. I think the work that you guys did in the PowerPoint at the back of the materials and was really good. Shows that you're committed to this process. You talked openly about the issues that you're having, and I really appreciate that. That shows real leadership. And thank you very much for doing that. And also thank you for taking accountability and wanting to work with us moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you.
President Lynn?
Yeah, just again to echo, we appreciate how you worked with the board, just got everything done, and again, just super transparent with everything that's going on. So with that, aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Agenda item L, annual charter audits, and I believe Andrea, you're still up.
Yeah. Today, I will be presenting on the operational and financial performance of your portfolio as identified through the annual audits conducted by independent CPAs, including the fiscal year 2021 audits. The audits are reviewed pursuant to administrative rule and the board's operational and financial frameworks. Each charter holder that will be operating in the next fiscal year receives a letter after the audit has been reviewed. Depending on the charter holder's performance and the audit issues identified, the letter may indicate the charter should work towards correcting the issues and that staff will monitor for repeated issues in the next audit, indicate the audit included repeated issues that had not been addressed from the prior year's audit, require the charter holder to submit a corrective action plan, state the charter holder will be placed on an upcoming agenda for possible disciplinary action, and/or require the charter holder to prepare financial intervention submissions. The audit letter informs the charter holder of its of its financial performance and any audit matters that have been reflected on the operational dashboard. For the fiscal year 2021 audit cycle, the board received 412 fiscal year 2021 audits. The graph on this slide identifies the percentage of the board's portfolio required to submit a corrective action plan, or CAP. The determination of whether a CAP is required is made in accordance with Administrative Rule and Appendix B of the Operational Framework. If certain non-compliance issues are identified through the audit letter notifies the charter holder that a CAP is required and identifies the specific information the charter holder must submit to the board. As shown on the graph, the percentage of the portfolio required to submit a CAP increased based on the fiscal year 2021 audits after an all-time low in the prior audit cycle. Much of this increase is attributable to 2 new student attendance reporting questions being added by the Office of the Auditor General and the Arizona Department of Education for fiscal year 21. If the caps associated with the 2 new questions are removed, the percentage of the portfolio required to submit a CAP would have been 4.4%. For the years represented by the graph, the number of audit issues resulting in a CAP requirement has ranged from a low of 18 for fiscal year 2020 to a high of 118 for fiscal year 2008. This slide identifies the top 5 audit CAP issues based on the fiscal year 2021 audits, along with the number of occurrences for each issue, and compares them to the top 5 audit CAP issues from the fiscal year 2012 audits. For issues of non-compliance that do not require a CAP, staff tracks the issue and determines if the issue is repeated in the next year's audit. The determination of a repeated issue is made in accordance with Appendix B of the board's operational framework. For the fiscal year 2021 audits, if the issue falls within the parameters of Appendix B and is identified in at least 2 consecutive audits, it is referred to as a repeated minimal impact finding. The number of repeated minimal impact findings has ranged from a low of 16 identified for the fiscal year 21 audits to a high of 136 identified for the fiscal year 2012 audits. Approximately 66% of repeated minimal impact findings are addressed by charter holders after being identified in 2 consecutive audits. Approximately 84% are addressed after being identified in 3 consecutive audits. In August 2021, the board approved changes to the operational framework that include noting certain audit issues on the operational dashboard sooner and requiring a charter holder to submit a CAP if a minimal impact finding is identified in 3 consecutive audits. These changes will be implemented with the fiscal year 2022 audits, which will be submitted during the current fiscal year. The board implemented its current financial framework with the fiscal year 2019 audits. As mentioned earlier, under the financial framework, a charter holder annually receives one of three overall ratings: good standing, adequate standing, or intervention. A charter holder that receives an overall rating of good standing or adequate standing meets the board's financial performance expectations. As this slide shows, the percentage of the portfolio meeting the board's financial expectations has increased annually to approximately 89% for the fiscal year 21 audit cycle. During these 3 years, the number of charter holders receiving an intervention rating has been cut in half from 88 charter holders for fiscal year 2019 to 44 for fiscal year 21. Charter holders that receive an intervention rating must make quarterly financial submissions to the board. For those in intervention for the fiscal year 2021 audit cycle, these submissions continue until the board receives the charter holder's fiscal year 22 audit. The presentation's remaining slides look at the portfolio's performance by measure. The financial framework includes 6 measures and 3 possible measure ratings: meet standard, approaches standard, or below standard. This first slide looks at the portfolio's performance. If you could go back a slide, please. Thanks. This first slide looks at the portfolio's performance on the going concern and default measures. For the fiscal year 21 audit cycle, 13 charter holders received a below standard on the going concern measure, and 1 received a below standard on the default measure. The going concern measure considers the absence or presence of certain disclosure about the entity's ability to continue operating made by management in the audit, and if applicable, the independent CPA. Following a sizable bump in performance for fiscal year 2020, the portfolio's performance improved slightly for fiscal year 21 on the unrestricted days liquidity measure, which considers the charter holder's available reserve. Even with the pandemic's impact in fiscal year 2020 and 21, the percentage of the portfolio receiving a meet standard has been fairly consistent on the average daily membership, which considers the percentage change in the number of students served by the charter holder. The portfolio's performance has improved year over year on the adjusted net income and lease adjusted debt service coverage ratio measures. The adjusted net income measure considers whether charter holders' revenues exceeded expenses, and the ratio measure considers how easily a charter holder's debt principal, interest, and facility lease costs can be paid as they become due. Before I wrap up this presentation, I wanted to mention one other thing. Over the summer, staff solicited feedback on what charter leaders and stakeholders would change about the current financial framework measures. This fiscal year, staff anticipates bringing to the board proposed changes to the financial framework measures based on feedback received and lessons learned. I'm available for questions.
All right, board members, are there any questions for Andrea? Okay, hearing none, seeing none.
Well, President Lee,
yeah.
I do believe Mr. Swanson has a question.
Sorry. President Lee, thank you. Andrea, great work. And I think this is both a testament to both our charter schools understanding the rules and doing a very, very good job over time, but also the staff in sort of promulgating good rules and putting things out there that protect the taxpayers. So this is a good report, and thank you for all the work that you guys do, and thanks to all the schools for the hard work they do to make sure they're in compliance.
Thank you. All right. Sorry. Any other? Yeah. Unmute yourself. If I don't see you, unmute yourself. If there's any other questions or comments. Okay. Andrea, thank you so much for that. It is really exciting to see, anytime that we're improving. And yeah, again, I thank you for all the work that you've done, and all of board staff, but I know you in particular leading the way in this. So really, really appreciate it. Okay, up next, Andrea, you're staying with us for agenda item. I think we're on M. Yes, the financial framework rulemaking. Go for it.
Speaking of rules,
Yeah.
staff is seeking board approval to finalize the proposed rules found in the Notice of Final Exempt Rulemaking included with the meeting materials. The proposed rules reduce requirements for reporting under the board's financial intervention process and modify certain other requirements related to the financial framework. Should the board approve the rules today, the notice of final exempt rulemaking will be filed with the Secretary of State's office for publication. During the first opportunity for public comment, which closed on August 29th, the board received comments from one stakeholder, which staff has addressed in the rulemaking notice. Today's meeting provides the second opportunity for public comment required under the board's procedures. Item 10 of the notice's preamble identifies changes that were made between the proposed rules released for public comment on August 9th and the proposed rules included with the meeting materials for today. Generally, these changes were made to align with other rules or were technical or clarifying in nature. Should the board adopt the proposed rules today, the rules would be implemented with staff's review of charter holders' fiscal year 2022 audits, which the board will receive this fiscal year, and will be implemented for charter holders currently in the intervention process based on the fiscal year 21 audit intervention cycle. Implementing the rules for those charter holders currently in financial intervention will result in 1, charter holders assigned to probation risk level 1 or 2 no longer being required to submit to the board, beginning with the September 30, 2022 quarterly report, the narrative describing deviations that have occurred from their financial plan. And 2, staff not visiting and counting students at schools operated by charter holders identified as first-time intervention based on the fiscal year 21 audit intervention cycle. Under the proposed rules, staff would continue to be required to visit and count students at schools operated by charter holders identified as on probation based on the fiscal year 21 audit intervention cycle. Staff is requesting today that the board waive for the on probation charter holders the site visit and student count requirements set forth in R7-5-402N unless and until such site visit and student count may be required in the fiscal year 2022 or future audit intervention cycles. I'm available for questions.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Board members, are there any questions for Andrea? All right, seeing none, hearing none. Is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans. I'll go ahead and make a motion. Excuse me. I move to approve the notice of final exempt rulemaking found in the board materials and presented today, and direct staff to update paragraph 11 of the rulemaking notice's preamble to reflect today's second opportunity for public comment and to file the notice of final exempt rulemaking with the Secretary of State's office for publication. To ensure its timely publication, the board authorizes staff to make any technical or formatting changes to the rulemaking notice as required by the Secretary of State's office. I also direct staff to make necessary changes to other relevant documents to reflect the board's action at this meeting. I further move, based on the information contained in the board materials I presented today, to grant staff's request for a waiver as provided for in the notice of final exempt rulemaking and waive the requirement for staff to visit the schools operated by charter holders identified as on probation based on the fiscal year 2021 audit intervention cycle.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Aaron, with the roll call, please.
Vice President Close.
Aye.
Dr. Crockett.
Aye.
Ms. Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Montier.
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz.
Aye.
Mr. Stratton.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Awesome. Okay. Andrea, agenda item M, financial framework visit requirements. Go for it.
The financial framework approved by the board in December 2018 requires staff to conduct financial visits of all first-year schools and certain second-year schools. Staff is proposing the board eliminate the second-year visits required under the financial framework and shift the first-year visits to primarily desk reviews. Under the proposal, staff will continue to visit first-year brick-and-mortar schools to count students. During the first opportunity for public comment, which closed on August 29th, the board did not receive any public comment on the proposed changes. Today's meeting provides the second opportunity for public comment required under the board's procedures. I'm available for questions.
Okay, any questions or comments for Andrea? All right, seeing none, hearing none, is there a motion?
President Lee, this is Hans. I move to adopt the changes to the visits required under the board's financial performance framework as found in the board materials and presented today, and direct staff to make necessary changes to other relevant documents to reflect the board's action at this meeting.
Is there a second?
I will second Hans' motion.
All right, and Aaron with the roll call, please.
Absolutely. Vice President Close,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Ms. Montier,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Stratton,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, up next, I believe we're doing agenda item D and O. So with that, Ashley, I can go ahead and kick this off, yes?
Yeah, we'll start with our agenda item D first, and then go to O.
Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to go ahead and let everybody know officially that I will be stepping down from the board after our next board meeting. So my last board meeting will be the November board meeting on November 21st, 2022. It's crazy to think I've been on the board 5.5 years or so. I remember when I got approached as just, as a math teacher, and they said, do you want to be on this thing called the board? And I had no idea what it was about, because I just taught math, and little did I know how much I would grow to just love it and respect it. And I mean, truly, if I could just with the most genuine feelings, say that I just so appreciate the board staff. Everything, your guys' hearts and what you guys do for charter schools just makes me so proud to be a part of the Arizona charter school system. Ashley, you in particular as well, just as, the executive director, I couldn't have asked for a better executive director. As somebody who's not very political and doesn't know any of those things that I should or shouldn't say, Ashley, you have been just amazing and truly have led board staff well, and it shows the culture that you've created. And I hear horror stories from other boards, and that's just never been my experience with this. To the board members who I just met, I'm excited for everything that you guys are going to be doing. I wish I was able to get to know you more, and for the old timers that have been with me for the last 5.5 years and then some, I just truly respect just each and every one of you. I always joke when I tell people, I always feel like I'm the dumbest person in the room walking in with a board full of really smart people. And so I just appreciate all the wisdom that you guys have imparted in me, and truly has made my school better. And we are, just so everybody knows, my husband got a job in Georgia. And so that is why I have to get off the board, because we'll be moving residents here in December. He's been an amazing husband and has supported me on all of my endeavors, in my job. And now it's my turn to support him. And so while we're super excited to be moving to Georgia, I am super, super, super sad to be leaving the board and just to be leaving. But I am staying on with the charter school in Arizona. I'll be working remote. So my time with Arizona charter schools is definitely not over. And who knows what'll happen with Georgia charter schools when I figure out what's going on over there. So with that, just thank you so much. Thank you just even for the opportunity to be president. It truly, this has been one of the best experiences of my career. And I'm real bummed, but I'm real excited for our family too. So.
Mary Helen, this is Hans. We're going to miss you a lot. You've given us some focused direction and a very reasoned perspective, wise perspective, I'd say. So I really appreciate it. And you presided over the growth of the board staff, and through COVID, it's been I wouldn't say tumultuous time, but it's had changes, and you've done a very amazing job. And I really appreciate your time with serving with you on this board.
Thanks, Hans.
Mary Ellen, I just like to add, when you first joined the board, you were a strong member. I remember you were pregnant with one of your last children, I think, who must be, what, 5 years old now, 4 years old. But your operational expertise and knowledge has really been a great benefit to the board, I think, to the staff, and certainly to the charter school community. So my great appreciation for your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mary Ellen, I agree. I haven't had the opportunity to serve with you as long as some others on the board, but you really have impressed me in terms of operationally and the questions that you ask. I think you having been in the charter community and so involved from the educational side, you bring such an awesome perspective to the board and really ask a lot of the tough questions that need to be asked. So we'll definitely miss you and miss your expertise on the board, but good luck in your future endeavors.
President Lee, Jim Swanson, ditto 1,000 times from everything that everyone said. Thank you for your friendship and your professionalism and everything that you've added to the board. This is not a board for the faint of heart. There's a lot of stuff to get through and a lot of materials, and you have done an amazing job, and you are big shoes to fill when you leave. So congrats and enjoy.
Awesome.
Congrats on getting out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was giving
text you pictures of my summer.
President
long, but I have appreciated your leadership, and I'm sad that I'm not going to get to continue this journey with you, but I wish you all the best. And Georgia, beware, you're a force to be reckoned with when you get there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is Jessica. Everything that everybody has said, I 100% agree with. You have been an amazing leader and a guide, which has been great. Haven't been on the board that long. Haven't been in a school leadership position for very long, but you have provided a lot of guidance, leadership, direction, and it's been amazing to watch and be a part of.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. All right. With that, I think we can move on to agenda item O. And if it's not out of turn, Ashley, I have some nominations I'd like to make. Is that okay?
That's okay.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to do them one at a time or all at once. Can I do them all at once?
You can do it all at once.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, I am super excited for these nominations. I just think so. First off, obviously, Hans, you've done an amazing job as vice president, and I know that you're going to do an amazing job as interim president. If we vote that in, but I think we will. And anyway, I'm really excited, Hans, just for your leadership and where you'll take the board. And then for vice president, I would love to nominate Jessica Montiers. Hopefully I said your last name right. I really practiced. Jessica, you clearly have gotten into leadership for a reason, and I'm really excited for you to have a leadership position on this board. I think it's going to be amazing. So with that, I move to nominate Vice President Hans Close as the interim president, and member Jessica Montiers as the interim vice president for the upcoming term until we vote otherwise.
Second.
Thank you. And Aaron, if you'll do the roll call.
Vice President Close.
I will abstain personally.
Dr. Crockett.
Aye, absolutely.
Ms. Foster.
Yes, yes, and yes.
Ms. Montier.
I will abstain as well.
Mr. Ruiz.
I vote aye.
Mr. Stratton.
Aye.
Mr. Swanson.
Aye.
President Lee.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Awesome.
Just to clarify, we're going to pass it by majority.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem, Aaron.
All right. With that, Ashley, you're up.
Well, I will make it as easy. The only update really that I have for you all is just that our next board meeting is November 21st. So it will be virtual again, but it is right along the holidays. So just want to make sure that you all are aware of that and have it on your calendars. But that is all that I have to report at this time.
All right, thanks guys. With that, we're adjourned.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Everyone have a good day.
Have a good rest of your week, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.